And then there's all the other stories of furious loved ones who've known what their loved one has died of and then had COVID-19 on the death certificate. So the thing is...
Then they're not testing the dead bodies either. It's just symptoms. Symptoms is how they classify it.
Yes, but what they're also doing is testing dead bodies. And if they're COVID-19, that's being put on their death certificate. So when you look at the figures, you instead of going, whoa, just breathe. Where are all these figures coming from? They're coming from diagnosis for other forms of death as COVID-19. And I'll tell you something else. Who is compiling all these figures globally, which the media are saying, oh, this, that, and the other? I'll tell you something else about that in a minute. It's an organization in America called Johns Hopkins University, their medical operation. 6 weeks before this kicked off in China, Bill Gates, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the World Economic Forum, which is the 1%, and the Johns Hopkins organization ran a simulation 6 weeks before on how the world should react to a coronavirus pandemic. You see it on the internet. There's hours of it. And one of the big areas that was talked about in this simulation, you can see it on the internet.
This is Event 201.
Event 201 is that what we must do in the event of this coronavirus pandemic, which no one was talking about at the time, we must control the narrative. We must stop anti-vaxxers. We must stop people putting out information that's at odds with the World Health Organization narrative. They were saying all this because it was preparation for what was about to happen, and the key players in it knew it was about to happen. So you have the lockdown, and you now keep it going for as long as possible, so that you destroy the livelihoods of people. And what happens? They become dependent on the state. And I've been writing in my books for decades again that the plan in this Hunger Games society is to create mass dependency by giving people with no other form of income by then what is called a guaranteed income. And it would be a pittance, survival level. But that guaranteed income, we talked about it before, would come with strings. You get the guaranteed income, but you do what the state says, or you don't get it. And by the way, how are you going to earn a living otherwise, because there are no jobs? And now we have the Pope. The Pope is, apart from one guy who, Pope John Paul I in 1978, who seemed to be a genuine bloke and wanted to get rid of Freemasonry from the Vatican. He lasted 33 days, a very significant Freemasonic number, of course. But the rest, it's a cult post. And so you've got this guy, Pope Francis, talking about the need for a guaranteed income. And this is all part of the game society. And it's been brought about by this pandemic. Now, what they have by controlling the figures, and by the way, like I say, the Johns Hopkins University took part in that seriously prophetic simulation just before it kicked off. That same organization is compiling all the figures, telling you how many cases there have been and how many have died. Scam! The whole thing's a scam.
Which scares everyone, instills fear.
Yeah, exactly. I read the whole thing's fear. And
I read some article a week ago that said somebody came out in Britain saying we overdid the fear. We can't get people out of their houses, even though they're running out of money, their businesses are failing. We still can't get them out of the house because we overdid the fear.
But because there is a survival mechanism in the brain, the reptilian brain at the back of the back of the brain. The brainstem is fundamentally part of this system. And once you trigger the survival mechanism, then all rational thought disappears, because the only thing is I must survive. And so if I must survive by staying in my house and seeing my whole life disappear, then I must. And by the way, if it will help me survive, I will agree to any level of draconian imposition as long as I think it will help me survive. This is the survival mechanism these people actually manipulate mercilessly, and never more so.
And there's still some people are so scared they're dying in their homes as opposing to seek medical care.
Yeah, and that brings me to this point. The media, without whom this could not have happened, they are beyond disgusting. And I really would like members of the mainstream media just to go and find their kids or their grandkids, look them in the eye, and see if you can have the self-respect to do that, because you are destroying their future by what you've done, by lying to the public, by taking the official version of everything and just pounding it out to people as if it's true, without question, who are cheering when people like me and you are deleted. Oh yeah, get rid of them. Yeah, okay. It wouldn't be